Hey, y'all. Welcome back for another episode of the Cozy Place podcast, where we have vulnerable conversations about healing, personal growth, faith, and building healthy relationships. I am your host, Brittany Banks, licensed mental health therapist and faith-based relationship coach. Today, our guest, she is a licensed professional counselor supervisor, a minister. She's received her master's in counseling from Auburn University and her master's in divinity from Drew Theological School. She's the CEO of LCS Counseling and Consulting Agency here in Fort Worth, Texas. And she's launched a platform called Strong Witnesses, designed to connect, transform, and heal through the power of storytelling. So, of course, it's only fitting that we get her story today. So please join me in welcoming LaToya Smith. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Yes,
I'm very excited to be here.
Good. I'm excited to talk to you.
Man.
I'm like, she has a story and I want to hear it.
Yeah.
So I try not to do too much digging before so that the conversation can be authentic. I think we kind of talked about that in our introductory call. Yeah. So I like to get background before we dive into like the how you are now, where you're at. Where does your story begin?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know what? That's a great question. You know what I think about now as I get older?
Yeah.
I reflect back over my life and where I think the starting point may have been at the worst point, maybe sometimes it's at the best point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was thinking today when I was driving here, I had like, my mom's still living, but like, you know, it's the weekend and Mother's Day and beautiful thoughts of mom and like little memories that come in my mind. So I can remember like little girl and like running around the neighborhood or playing or awkwardness of beautiful moments with mom and laughing and giggling or awkwardness of feeling insecure and uncomfortable in the neighborhood. But I think it's those years too. It's the therapist in me. It's those years that form and shape you. But I want to say like if you ask me like where does it begin, I think back to the neighborhood and just understanding now more who I am, you know, being around kids, being insecure or being the youngest and having to grow up and watch people or, you know, having to look at my parents in moments of struggle or moments where it seemed at ease. I think those are very shaping of, or even learning how to operate in silence or alone or feeling like the only one in the room when you're in a room full of a bunch of people. You know, those things then have shaped my decisions and actions throughout the years. But now when I'm older, I can be like, okay, this came from that came from this, and like put the pieces together.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting to talk to another therapist because I'm like, I think all of our minds kind of work that way when we're dissecting ourselves of what we do all the time. So that's interesting to see. So when you look back at, you said it began in the neighborhood in childhood. Where is that? What was that for you? Like, where you from?
Yeah, I'm from South Jersey. See, Jersey is different. So even though there's not a North and South, when you're from Jersey, you say South Jersey or North Jersey.
Yeah.
So I'm from South Jersey, about like 30 minutes outside of Philly. I was born, my father retired from the Army. So I was born in the Army base, but I wasn't like an Army brat. I was the youngest, so I didn't travel all around. And so there, like we grew up in, I would say now, middle class. In today's economy, it may not have been a middle class neighborhood, but back then it was a middle class neighborhood. Like being one of very few Black families around. So I always say I can count on my hands the number of Black kids in the school, and one of them was one of my brothers. Like, you know what I mean? And so if you challenge me now, I probably wouldn't be able to name by name, but I could describe the Black kids in each grade. And so that was a lot of taking up and having to have your identity amongst, you know, no other kids of color around. My extended family is from Milwaukee. My mom and dad are from Milwaukee. So we were in Jersey, so they weren't around. So having to learn about culture, distinction of this is how we do things in our culture and how they do things. Feeling like the other without kids having language to say you are the other, but sometimes saying mean things. But having to come into an understanding of who you are, you know, in that environment. That was hard, you know, just to try to, you know, you're already feeling insecure and uncomfortable, but how do I stand out? Then how do I fit in? Like, I want to color brown skin on this artwork. everybody else is blonde hair, blue eye when they don't have blonde hair and blue eye. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't want to do that. I knew then I didn't want to do it, but it was still uncomfortable in the doing. I remember when I was younger, like I remember going to school on a Monday, and it's, you know, and this kid in my class, like he was white, right? Everybody in the class was white.
Right.
He pulls out pizza on a Monday morning for lunch. And I remember my mind being blown, like, you had pizza on Sunday? Like, because in our household, like, you was getting a whole spread of dinner and a meal. And I remember my young mind couldn't handle the fact that your family ordered pizza. You know what I mean? Like, when mama was in the kitchen cooking from breakfast to dinner and things like that, just an understanding of eye-opening, you know, from learning culture from Yo MTV Raps at that time, you know what I mean? Or whatever it may be, to have the come into understanding of self, that's hard, you know? And so it's hard when you have a life experience that makes you feel shame and like the other, but then it's hard growing up when you're trying to figure things out and stand out.
How did that impact just you becoming you? Like, were there parts of you that you clung to and later realized, like, that's not me, I adopted that to fit in? Or how did that go for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that part, like what you just said, like learning my voice, right? So wanting to embrace more and more of culture, but at the same time wanting to cancel out things that I may have liked on this side, but I don't like that. And it was like, that's kind of cool. Or, you know what I mean? Or I want to insert, like, this is what I know and believe, and then being more angry because you wouldn't receive it. Like, I still feel like, okay, there's discernment, but then there's also, hey, I can walk into a room, I can feel what's going on. I feel like I can feel like the racism or a shift. You can sense that tension in a room.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't like that feeling, right? So even now, present day, where we see things happening and issues going on, like, you can't tell me what I see or what I feel isn't it.
Right.
And now I'm at a point where I'm not about to argue with you about what I feel is factual. But also just not having that space to show up and wear my hair differently and it'd be okay without it being like, oh, look at you, you know what I mean? Or showing up with different, you know, colors of clothes on, or expression of thought, for feeling like I had to shrink in the space, or basically not being celebrated. Like, my eyes aren't light brown, but they're a different shade of brown. And I didn't, like, when I got older, being around more people that look like me and they say that, I'd be like, what are you talking? Like, things that hit me like nobody told me before. You know what I mean? Or you're beautiful at a young, I didn't get that. You know what I mean? Or, so it was harder to really grasp if nobody says it and nobody celebrates you. It was kind of like, these kids are the good kids. I remember feeling that way, like the teachers would advocate for a certain population, and it was kind of like, well, why don't I get the celebration too? Now, my mama gonna call the school, and they gonna know her voice.
Of course.
Like, they answer the phone,
mama gonna play that.
Yeah, hey, Miss Smith, like, they'll know her.
Yeah.
Like, she gonna fight for us. Like, she did a lot of stuff. She does a lot of stuff, but she gonna fight for her kids. If she thought that if we came home and said anything other, she's not gonna let us hit the ground.
That story, I've heard it of course, in different forms from different people, but it is a story I don't think that's talked about enough in the Black community, of just like your parents wanting to put you in better spaces and places, but the impact that those primarily white environments have on you and your development and your psyche, and how that transforms you in adulthood too. So I'm glad you made it through that. You found yourself, you know? So did you always know that you kind of wanted to help people, or what was like the pivotal moment to say, like, I want to do something to help others?
Right. I knew that. No, the answer is no, right? I knew that I enjoyed it.
Okay.
But you got to think about, too, again, my therapist lens, you know, when I'm younger, you want to fit in, you help to be included and to be comfortable, right? So it's that people pleasing that came in. Like, if I can meet you here and meet your need, I can control the environment and what's happening. But as I got older, now listen, I went to college. I was a film major. I was gonna do all this right here.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was a communications major, right?
Love it.
And so, you know, we'd have the camcorder around campus, or editing, or taking it to do whatever. And I remember I applied to NYU Film School, and I did not get in. I think that was the only school you know. And I was like, well, I'm going home.
Okay.
And I went home that summer, and it was a hard summer, because I'm like, what am I about to do with, you know, you young, what am I do with my life?
Right.
You know, I listened to the Miseducation over and over and over again. And I started working with kids that fall, and I was like, I like this, but I have no idea what I'm doing.
Okay.
And then I applied to grad school. It was Auburn. It was Clark Atlanta. Went to Clark Atlanta. It would have been a great time.
Okay.
But I remember the AC being down in one building and the person we were supposed to meet with wasn't there. My mom like, you're not going here. Okay. And then we went to Auburn. We drove over to Alabama. Yeah. And there was a professor there, a Black professor. Like, she was just inviting and warm. And it's kind of like when we sat down, we knew this was where I was going to be at. But no, I didn't know. But now looking back, it makes sense. It makes sense of like my heart. It makes sense of like caring for people. It makes sense of wanting to see people through and fight for people. Yeah. You know, then I didn't know. I've always had dreams of this, that, you know, or, you know, like I said, spaces like this of storytelling. But when I look back, I can see the pieces coming together. Okay. You know.
So to every story, there's, you know, some heartbreak and some tragedy, right?
Yeah.
In most cases. Was yours in childhood? Did it happen later in life? Like, what did you encounter that struck up the chord of the need to heal and to help others heal as well?
Yeah, I would say all the way through. I would say from childhood experience of not feeling like you fully fit in.
Okay.
Or knowing that you were the other and other people knowing that as well. I would say a middle school of being sexually abused and then having to deal with that experience and the shame and the secrecy that came with it. I would say in high school, I'm only telling the harder part. This is not like, I don't want to make it seem my life is doom and gloom, but like this, the struggle of like, you know, getting to high school and now I'm in a diverse group, but still not being able to fit in with the Black, because, you know, they're like, you act like that, like, you know what I mean? Right. And that part. And then just going off to college and having that bit of trauma that stays with you. Yeah. But not knowing how to manage moments, you know what I mean? Or relationships, or always feeling like there's a guard up, or not knowing how to be self and fully, you know, exhale and be in a moment. Yeah. Even when it comes to engaging with churches or ministries over the years and just being emotionally, or what they say, spiritually hurt in different ways. Yeah. Where it's just like, listen, now that I have a deeper relationship with God and now that I feel like I'm in a safe space, those spaces weren't right, you know? And then just having to fix your mind to think, you know, and I want to, you know, I know I'm not alone in this, but like, man, at this age, God, I thought I would have X, Y, and Z accomplished and done. And I thought this would have been set up. And then looking at the reality of life, what's it called? Ambiguous grief, right? Like, I'm grieving something that I never got a chance to hold, but it was my expectations of it. But realizing, okay, God, you still have me here in this space. Right. And if you got me here and there's beautiful things I need to be grateful for. But okay, should I let go of this and grasp harder? Like, what does that look like? So I think in every season, there's some sort of struggle. The hardest one was the abuse, but everything just having to wrestle with it and work through it. Where it's like, okay, Father, is this the route you want me to go? That I made goofy mistakes to get here, but I see the healing all along the way. Yeah. You know, I see the breakthrough all along the way. I did a word last Sunday, and it was like, where it talks about in Acts chapter 9, where it says, listen, God's telling, okay, Ananias, go touch Saul. Yeah. I'm showing what great things he must suffer for my name's sake. You know what I mean? And then I was just trying to send the message of suffering ain't easy. Nope. Now, nobody want to suffer. No. Nope. Right? And sometimes we take suffer like we run from it, and then other times it's suffer like you're going to have to go through tough times. Okay, God, did I go through that? You got me here now. What am I to do with the now? Right. Right? Without still worrying about the expectation of the future. But how can I live in the now and be a blessing for even young girls who have been abused, to be a blessing for those who have been harmed in different ministries, to be a blessing to the little Black girl or boy who doesn't see who they are and their identity because those around them won't validate them. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? How can you stand up to be a blessing and sharing stories, like whatever it may be? You know, it's constantly trying to get comfortable in that and feel that without shying away from whatever that is. Yeah. So you described just going through different things in life, and you said the abuse was the hardest. What did that rob from you that you had to overcome later? Like, who did the trauma and the things that you went through turn you into? What did it turn you into? Because it's life altering, right? And I think a lot of people don't realize when you go through tough things, you are not going to be the same person.
afterwards. And a lot of people try to just shove it in a closet like it didn't happen and think that they're going to show up at their best and their healthiest moving forward. And that's not how that works.
Yeah.
So who did it turn you into that you had to heal from?
Absolutely. I don't know. It's a great question. I don't know if it turned me into anybody as much as it silenced who I was. Right? Like, I remember, and I share this part of the story a lot. I remember going to school. It happened on a Saturday night. I remember going to school Monday and talking about being somewhere with, like, you know, cameras and film. I remember feeling like I got to my locker, you know, you're turning the keys. But I remember feeling like the stage just goes black. Like nobody knew. I remember thinking that nobody knew, like hearing the noise, but being at my locker and thinking nobody knows what happened. And it was kind of like the stage went black and the silence on me turned down. Ooh. And I feel like where I wish people would see me throughout, they didn't. So much so, again, like high school years, the thought of it being suppressed, where I knew it obviously, but it wasn't, I didn't feel it, but I knew it. I felt the shame and embarrassment, but not the all over your body, the emotions, but all of a sudden it to come back up. But I think it interrupted, I know. I felt like I never was able to, at that season, live to my fullest potential because I was always on guard about what people didn't know or the shame that came with it or not being able to speak and use my voice. Yeah. You can't show up and be fully all of you unless you can use your voice how you want to use it, right? So I was censoring my own voice of what I could say, who I could say it to, why I acted the way I acted, why I moved the way I did, because I couldn't fully speak, right? So I wasn't all of me. I didn't show up all of me in friendships. It was kind of like, looking back now, it was probably like a bit of a weird, like, she doesn't talk, like she doesn't do anything. She's so quiet or in relationships. I can see now it hindering relationships and dating, right? Being resistant, not really wanting to talk too much or hindered friendships of trusting, right? Of connection and what that looks like. Like that shame will, because now you don't trust people.
Right.
Right. Now you don't trust people. Now you don't want to fully talk. Now you on guard. What you going to do? How you going to say it? It's uncomfortable. But, I think about that. I think about if I was fought for, right, that night, if I was seen as worthy that night to not be touched inappropriately by an adult, who would I have been? Like, would I had allowed? Would I have been more vocal? Would I have been more outgoing at a younger age? I would have tried anything. Like, I'm going to take a chance on it. But would I have shown up as my full self? Would I have walked in a room and kicked it with everybody instead of walking in and playing against the wall? Like, Yeah. And that happens, right? So that's why I think now when we see young kids who are quiet and reserved and pushed to the back, we shouldn't just be like, that kid's goofy. Like, what I mean?
I always have questions. I lead with curiosity there. Of just like, is that who you really are? Is there something hindering you from being that way? Because I have a similar experience, like just with my own essay and trauma.
Yeah.
Of like, I was out bright going, I wanted to be an actress and a singer and all these things. And then after a while, I just kind of went in a shell to an extent, right? There was some of it that was also used as escapism with friends, like once you get to high school, just trying to be out there. But I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand the silence of it. So that's essentially something that you had to reclaim in your journey.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have your voice back now?
I think, yeah.
Okay.
And not only a voice, because then even when I started speaking, just the comfort of being me, right? The comfort of not feeling I have to prove anything. The comfort of speaking my truth, no matter who's in the room, like not in a disrespectful way, but like I'm not going to be silent for you, right? The comfort of not having to please everybody else, but hey, I'm going to show up in my truth. I'm going to say it. I'm not going to fight you for how I feel in the moment. The comfort of knowing that I did some things wrong because when I was in survival mode, I hurt other people too, probably like resistance of not trusting or not being present or trusting too much in the wrong people, following blindly behind people who I thought had my best interests and did not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So feeling like, okay, again, I'm okay in this space. I'm working continuously to be okay in this space. And God, Because you can beat yourself up about that too. Like, man, I should have never made that decision thinking these people have my best interest. Because it took me a long time because, in that season when you go through such heartache with those that you did trust, now you just want somebody to trust.
Yeah.
Now you want somebody to see you and to love on you and to lead you out of this dark space. And I spent a lot of years, a lot of time, instead of setting my sight on God for him to lead me, were people who I thought had my best interest that could literally lead me, and you led me the wrong way. Because what really happens is, if we be honest,
tell the people.
Sometimes what happens is you can't lead me successfully because you never dealt with your own stuff.
Absolutely.
So I've trusted in adults. I trusted in, as I got older, leaders or mentors that lead me out, and you leading me along your way of trauma and harm.
Yeah.
And now I'm way astray. I'm way off the path I should be on because I'm over here with your dream or your plan, right? So it took me I remember telling adults, because for a season, for years, I can count on my hands how many adults I told, right? Now I'm showing up and I'm like now and I'm telling it. But I remember trusting in some adults who I felt comfortable with, and they didn't have an answer for me, only to find out, oh, you was hurt too. Where you shouldn't even been the one, if you've never dealt with your stuff,
right?
Move out the way.
Yeah.
Instead of acting like I have what you know what I mean? And that, nobody ever took advantage of me again to abuse me in such a way, but it's like, that's also abuse. Let's be honest, that can also be abusive.
It can be.
If you are causing more harm than good, right? Yeah. And now I know that when I do share with people, I can look at people's reaction. They don't even have to speak a word.
Yeah.
And I can tell that it happened to you too, right? You just don't know how to say it, which is also serves the purpose for us, even in this moment, being here talking about it, because somebody may not know how to open their mouth. But you're, resistance, a quick, oh, okay. Nah, something about this feeling too. You're just not ready yet. It's not my job to force you.
Right.
But I'm also not going to be quiet.
How long were you silent about what you went through?
I would definitely say so it happened in 7th grade. I was younger for my age, my grade. But from 7th grade, I think I started talking more when I was a freshman in high school. I remember getting to high school. One of my good friends, who's still a friend now, I remember telling her in 9th grade. But I really didn't tell anybody, So it was just an awkwardness of what it felt like, what it'd be like. And then I started to be like, something happened, but not being able to fully say what something was. Like, you know what I mean? I couldn't even say the words of abuse or, molestation. I don't want to speak that. You know what I mean? So I can say something for a while, but the specifics behind the something took me way more time. And then in 2015, I want to say I wrote a full letter and I sent it to him. And then that letter I sent to my family, like, y'all gonna read it. Like, at this point, they kind of knew something. Some of them knew something happened. Nobody knew the details of what happened. But at that point, when I sent the letter, everybody knew. Wow. The only thing I wish I could do different from that time, I sent the letter to everybody individual emails.
Okay.
I wish it would have been one group email. Now y'all all got to talk about it amongst yourselves. Yeah. Now everybody got to talk about it amongst yourselves.
How old were you when you did that?
I don't know. Maybe my late 30s.
Okay, so this was later in life.
Yeah.
I was like, you did that in high school? Wow.
No, I wish I would. That's the thing. I wish I would have had the courage to do. I remember the friend I told in 9th grade, I remember her saying, you should say something about it. I wish, I'm not putting this on her, but I wish she would have went and told. As much as I wish she held my secret. Like, things now you look back, now maybe, she kept that, right? But now I wish you would have ran your mouth. Like, you know what I mean?
You wish that now because hindsight is 20/20. But at that age, you probably would have been embarrassed,
devastated,
angry,
and would not be talking to that. Would not be calling person my friend.
We're not friends,
right? But then, like, I wish somebody would have stood up with their voice and said something. That's why, I remember being younger and thinking, I wish I could scream this. And now I feel like, well, I'm not screaming, but now I feel like I'm talking about it.
You won't be silenced.
Yeah. But I wish somebody would have fought well for me.
Something you said that stood out of just like telling someone who wasn't prepared to like guide you in that.
Absolutely.
I think in today's climate, that's important to talk about because a lot of people feel like, oh, well, I don't need therapy. I got my friends, or I talk to this person or that person. Or I get counseling at church, which is not the same as therapeutic counseling. They have their value, right?
Right.
But what would you say about choosing where to be vulnerable and tell your story for aiding your healing journey?
Yeah. I think that's it, right? So people have to figure out where their space is and who their people are, right? It may not be on the Cozy Place podcast, right?
Maybe not.
Right. It may not be on a Facebook Live.
Right.
And for some people, it should not be.
It shouldn't.
Right. But it's wherever they feel safe and who their safe people are. And you got to find your people. Like in 9th grade, that person, like my good friend, she was my safe space, right? Sometimes along the way, the men I dated were my safe space to say. But it doesn't mean now I'm going to leave here and go to QT and start screaming like I think that's important for people wherever safety is. And only the person can define what safety is.
Right.
And now my heart hurts for people like, I don't have any safe places. And sometimes that's the truth, but other times the shame and the trauma are what keeps you from having the safe. So it work fights against each other, right? You don't have it because of the pain, but you won't speak the pain because you don't have any safety.
Yeah.
And we got to figure out what that space is, which could be the therapist's office, right? But not everybody's ready to walk into that. But I think it can be with your homeboy, your homegirl, enough to say, I don't know how to handle this.
I think people also have to be mindful of their expectations of reaction. Because if you're going to someone with the expectation of help me solve this, they don't have the tools to do that.
Yeah.
They don't have the tools to comfort because they're not comfortable with their own emotions or tense topics. You're going to be let down and then feel unsafe.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
Because it's not to say you can't be harmed in a therapeutic space. Some therapists.
That's a fact. Yeah. That's a fact.
Or even going to church and going there to tell a leader, people have been hurt by the church, people in the church as well. So I think it's a discernment thing, and also just kind of doing your research if you're going to go through a professional route to make sure.
Yeah. But you know what, too, as you're saying that, I had this emotion just jump up in me.
Yeah.
But as you're saying that, and again, this is from my experience, right? Which obviously shows me this still bothers, But if I tell you, because I have gotten some weird reactions, in the first people over the years, going back. But it's if you're not ready, at least, my thing is say something warm. I don't care what it is. Even if you had your own stuff, it could be, I'm sorry, right? It could just be, I'm here, I'm listening.
Yeah.
I've heard that. When you have a weight that you're carrying and somebody just says, I don't know what to say, but I'm listening. Or I'm sorry that happened. Or, you know what, you didn't deserve. That goes a long way. I don't care if it's how you looking at me and you sit and meet eyes. That goes a long. You don't have to come out with the most poetic, deep, just be present.
Yeah.
That makes a difference because people have been silent, and I've backed up and been silent by the reaction of somebody else who couldn't handle what I'm saying. And that causes more harm than good, especially now, Lord help me. I'm not fond of the one-uppers, right? So if I tell you my deepest pain and then you get back with your deepest, that's not it, right? So I just feel like as adults, we should know how to handle. Again, this is being very hopeful and optimistic.
Right.
Right.
Here's the thing with that. I've learned to have grace and empathy there, even when people respond weird. Because the reality is most people struggle with tension, with difficult conversation, with their own emotion, especially if it's something that they've been through. Because you're telling them, it's deep, but simultaneously, this, they were probably also triggered in that moment.
Yeah.
Their bodies are having reactions and they don't know what to say. You see this commonly with death and grieving. People get real weird around trying to console because they don't know what to say. So
that is uncomfortable.
Cliches come out, and I attribute it to the same thing. When it's you want to help, you don't know what to say, and sometimes it just goes left or it's quiet.
Yeah.
And when people, the quote unquote the one uppers, most of the time, not all the time, because there are some people who are telling their story in the sense of it ain't that bad, right?
Yeah.
But some of them are trying to connect and relate to say you're not alone. I see you, but I don't know how to say that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I advocate all the time for just learning yourself and your emotions so that you can be more supportive in your relationships.
But I think that's it. I think it's the want to learn.
Yeah.
I think it's because I think we all desire safety. And this goes back to like even we didn't know it then, being infants. We desire safety. We desire connection.
Correct.
We want to be heard. We want to be seen. We want to be loved. We want the softness.
Yeah.
Right? Life has pulled us back from it.
Yeah.
But my thing is, I wish we all would lean in to it. Right? And that takes a learning period. Right? Like what you're saying. Like I think we're both kind of saying the same thing, but it takes my thing is just don't stay on the outside and be like, well, like, you know what I mean? But lean on it. Like we owe it to ourselves to lean into that space.
We do.
And want to have those conversations.
Yeah. It's also about breaking that stigma though. Because for us, community-wise, just Black community, thinking about just historically speaking, I say this all the time, it is just now in like recent, maybe the last 10, 15, 20 years where Black Americans have had the space and the privilege to even consider like, oh, I need to take the time to go heal, go do something about this. Historically speaking, you're combating all these environmental things and all this other stuff and lack of resources and things not open to you. You know, just like I know, our field was created out of racism and for the white population. So there's a lot of stigma that's associated with going to get help. There's a lot of shame associated with going to get help. So I think it's kind of also on the people, us in the field, to pass the message of letting them know, like, hey, it's okay. I know what you were taught, but you don't have to stick to that because it's holding you in bondage, right? Almost every Black client I've had, in the intro, we go through at some point, someone said, you know, whatever happens in this house stays in this house. Don't be telling your business or things like that. So if we're combating narratives like that are deeply woven in forcing people to be silent, we got to break that too, you know? So it's a lot, man. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the catalyst for your healing journey? Like what was the moment where you were like, okay, something has to change?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I think, I'm not sure what that was. I think I don't know if I had a plan where I was like, today, you know, some gotta go. Like as much as it's just like, it was tearing me up on the inside. When it comes to the abuse, the silence was just, it was just too much. Like it makes you feel like your head's spinning, you know, or waking up. I didn't know, this is before I went off to grad school. I didn't know what PTSD was. Yeah. I just know that every morning I wake up, this heaviness is on me. I feel it happening again. The thought, I hate waking up and this is my first thought. That can, man, that's too heavy. Yeah. And I did not like that. Yeah. I did not like not being able to speak it, but when I was younger, I drank a lot. Right? Like that was my coping skill. That was my outlet. Yeah. I didn't like that. Like after a while, it's like this even, I don't want to do this anymore, you know? So I think it was just kind of like what we told, right? When you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you make some changes. So for that, in that season, it was just like, I got to start speaking. Like for other things in life, I remember it was, again, like, I'm tired of being hurt certain ways. I'm tired of the pain. I'm tired of being comfortable in the pain. Yeah. Right? You know, I'm
normalizing it.
Right. I'm tired of being, in my mind, being used. I'm tired of being silent. I'm tired for letting you play in my face. Like, so some of it was a me thing, like, get yourself together. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so you can either live your life being exhausted and tired or do something different, right? That's that suffer. Okay, what does it look like? Okay, to pull back, to look at your own self in the mirror, to be like, I fumbled a whole bunch of stuff. I messed up a whole bunch of stuff. I can't fix it. And that's a part that's the hardest thing to go through, where you cannot fix anything and you got to just sit in a pain point and learn how to figure it out. Yeah, for sure. So what the early stages of like, okay, I'm sick of this. I need to do something. What did you do? Did you go to therapy? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love me some therapy. Like, that's like...
People, hold on, I gotta say this. People believe that therapists don't... We go to therapy, okay? Therapists need therapists too.
Absolutely.
And actually, if you go to a therapist and say they've never been to therapy...
Yeah.
I would question that.
I said the same
Why you
thing.
selling a product you don't believe in? I'm just saying.
Yeah. I'm glad that wasn't my answer. Like, absolutely not. You had to come different.
No, I wouldn't have been that. I just would have asked why.
Yeah.
Because I'm also a firm believer in there are different routes to healing. Therapy isn't the only way.
Mm-hmm.
But I know in my grad school program, our professors, they were like, hey, at least go once or twice to try so you can feel what it feels like to be in that seat. You may not have deeply rooted issues or trauma, but there may be something that they can help you gain perspective on, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about you've been wounded, you've gone through all these crazy situations. Sometimes it's just about getting a healthier perspective, an unbiased perspective to help you navigate what you're going through, right? So no, it wouldn't have been that. Yeah. So you started with therapy?
Yeah.
And then?
Yeah. I started, like you, when I was in grad school, my professor was like, you got to know how it feels to sit on that couch, right? I think I started then, but it wasn't it. Like, again, I went, but I wasn't ready. Yeah. Like, I was resistant. I didn't fully know. I haven't even, I didn't know. But even since living in Texas, going to therapy, but like you said, I tell the therapist, I supervise whoever, like, you got to go to therapy for yourself, right? I noticed for myself, I'm a better therapist from going to therapy. One, for knowing that, okay, you're sitting across from, I know how it feels to sit and just excel and let things out. And now I can appreciate you being over there more and talking to me. I'm healthier as I'm talking to you. Yeah. Right? And then also, too, like you just said, sometimes it takes a lot for some people to go to therapy. So we celebrate those who come in, right? Celebrate people at every stage. But sometimes people do believe I came to the intake, I said what I had to say. Woo, I'm good. Because they've been holding so much stuff in for so long. Yeah. That was the release. Yeah. But then trying to tell people there's more, right? So I can look at, okay, I've gone to therapy, and there's times where I'm in there weekly, and there's times where I ain't seen my therapist in a minute. Like, but some things take time. There's layers to it. Yeah. Where you got to unpack it. And you got to sit with it, and you got to process. And somebody has to be able. This was with therapists. We don't know we do still have our blind spots, right? We do have spaces and areas. We're still human, right? Alive. For somebody to call us out on, and then be like, "Listen, let's talk about this. Let's unpack." No, I need you to sit there, right? Take it out of your. Don't feel this, and have somebody to be like, "Okay, I see." Yeah. I like that feeling, but I know I love going to therapy. I love that. Did you implement any other paths to healing? Because I say that to say, like, I've been to therapy in different stages of life, but there was also, for me, spiritually speaking, that played a big role in my healing journey as well. A lot of therapists I talk to are naturally reflective and introspective. Is that you as well? I think so. Yeah. So sometimes you might find yourself just even sitting with God and just saying, absolutely. Why do I do this? What is this? Where did this come from? And him showing you. So when did you incorporate that? Or even other things like a coach, a mentor, anything like that? I think I got saved when I was at the end of my undergrad. Okay. Right? I remember, which is why I stopped drinking too at that time. It was all a big, like, I'm thinking, I didn't really know the Lord fully, but I knew I can't be hanging out here and talk about the Lord, right? It didn't go together. For me, it didn't go together. It was conviction. Yeah. I remember, it's a different story. I did a year of law school. Okay. I didn't finish. Law school? Yeah, I know. This is random. I threw that in there. We don't have to stay there. But I threw it in there. And I remember praying to God, where do you want me to be? I remember my call to ministry in a dream. I remember how beautiful it was. Okay. Right? And so that space has always been special to me. And now as I'm older and I'm matured and healing more, our conversations are so different. Okay. You know what I mean? Where I have to check in, where I am asking before anything I do. Our relationship is so special, right? With God. I also know that this helped me in healing. And I always say this, I play sports all my year. I have an older sister, I have 3 older brothers. Okay. My sister was nowhere near sport. She didn't care. But my brothers, 2 of them I know were very active. And being so shy when I was younger, sports gave me the outlet, right? So if I'm a shy neighborhood kid, but I'm the fastest girl out there, people, this is conversation. These are friendship starters, right? But playing sports and that grit, that determination, that motivation on the college and playing sports there, that also helped be my outlet. So now when I'm in difficult situations, like I was just talking about this the other day, then you think about them sprints you had to do at the end of practice, or them, are constantly grinding out or lifting weights, or now I still, I'm very active. I work out, and so that's an outlet for me, going for a run. I always tell people, go for a walk. I don't care. We can call it mindfulness walk, whatever you got to do, a run, and put a good playlist on. Like your thought, it's a release, right? One, you can tell yourself, okay, I can do this. I can push past what I'm physically doing, which I can also push past what other blocks in my life. But then like just where your mind goes with a good playlist or a podcast, like that's a beautiful outlet to me. And I love that space.
And it's free.
Yeah, it's absolutely free. You have to pay for iTunes. After that, it's free.
Exactly. I think people forget that physical exercise, I say this all the time, physical activity, exercise, it is a free tool for your mental health. It intertwines with your physical. So yeah. So you talk about all the healthy coping skills you had. What unhealthy ones did you have? I know you said drinking. What else did you do to kind of like escape or just to cope? And I think some people don't realize that's what they're doing. They think, oh no, I'm just partying, or I'm just having sex, or I'm just whatever. Yeah. What were yours?
Mine was definitely drinking. Okay. Like I remember being younger, and in 1 week, 3 people who did not know each other told me I drank too much.
Oh.
And I remember,
Fair.
Yeah. And I was like, the first one was like, ah. And then after a while, I was like, yo.
Maybe I did.
And then it hit me, yeah. So drinking was really my biggest issue. Not to say that I remained healthy, but it wasn't like substance. It was never promiscuity like that.
Right.
And that was probably from the abuse too. Like I was more resistant, and that wasn't going to be my outlet. I think too, where I know, like, man, I wish I would have got this sooner, was following blindly behind people and waiting for people to validate or give me the play or tell me the answers.
Yeah.
Trusting people blindly, which is a different road of emotional abuse. I wish I would have seen, like, nah, that didn't feel right to be here, like, move around instead of pleasing and staying in places that were absolutely hurtful. I wish I would have seen that sooner.
Yeah, that's fair. So, slight pivot, but a question I think needs to be answered. What do you think that the church gets wrong about healing?
Ignoring it and it'll go away.
Yeah.
I think, I know it's cliche we hear, pray about it and it'll go away. But if sometimes we know there's like a mental block. If you're not in a good space, you can't get that prayer through, or it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I think the woo, it'll be okay. Yeah. They didn't really mean it.
They didn't really mean it. It's crazy.
Yeah. Or the image, you don't want to hurt somebody else's image.
Right.
Or again, like this is how we should act, and this is the God thing to do. We should forgive and move on. That's not healing. Now again, we're just playing with things, right? But if we're talking about true healing, if we're talking about deliverance, if we're talking about confessing your faults one to another, right? If we're talking about the release of standing there needs to be something that breaks.
Correct.
Right. So if we really want to talk about, that means we got to dig up the stuff. We got to face the stuff. Right. We got to really sit with the stuff.
And it's not.
And then we got to let it go. Again, we don't want to do all because it's uncomfortable, because this person may have a title, because this person may not have gone through it, so they don't know how to lead you through it. Right. Because I need to understand the scripture, but I can't find the intimacy and connection with the scripture.
Yeah.
Right. If I haven't really broke and either know me or have my relationship with the Father, now I'm just reading words and I'm reciting words instead of understanding how much He loves me.
Right.
And now what this truly means. I was in, altar, I had the benefit or the pleasure, right, of being used to bring a word last Sunday, but then found myself on the altar last Wednesday just because of the altar call. And I realized this too, like, if we're talking about, people say therapists go to therapy and they're like, what? What's wrong with you? Like, no, I want to be healthy.
I'm human.
Right. So I can, the Lord can use me to preach one day. And then the next day, not that I was doing anything wrong, but I can't remember what the altar call was. I think it was just like, hey, if you want God to be in your heart more, absolutely. Who doesn't? Like, right. But I remember standing there thinking, God, like this, I'm not ashamed to come up here. I'm not ashamed of, because sometimes at first you think, ooh, what they going through today at the altar? Like, there was a bunch of us there, like, ooh, you going through, but like, nah, I want to be here.
Right.
Because in your presence, I don't want nothing to hinder.
Right.
Like, I want everything to break.
Amen.
But I also remember there was so much going on, being free enough to stand there and realizing for myself, talking about a healing journey, there were times that I was carrying the heaviest things and never felt free enough because I thought they would see me. But now I'm like, see all of me because I don't want anything to hold me back from this intimacy I feel with you. And I felt like I was surrounded by water. Like I felt like the spirit was so high.
Yeah.
Like that's healing to me. Like that, but it takes some time to get there.
Yeah.
But see, for me, it took years and decades. It doesn't have to take everybody that long.
No.
Right? But I want that. I want everybody to experience and feel that.
So do I. I really do. Like, once you get to a level of freedom from the things that held you captive, it's just like, this is available. I want everybody to feel this. I want everybody to understand this. So you try to encourage and guide and teach. So I understand that wholeheartedly. I do. Vulnerability is a superpower, guys.
Absolutely.
I know, in the right spaces, in the right places. Your Instagram live is probably not that. I mean, because you mentioned it earlier, and I've heard other people say this. Some people get online thinking like, okay, I'm going to share this and be free. If you haven't processed it, you're ending up bleeding online rather than like just telling your testimony, telling your story. And then when the negativity comes and hits you, it causes you to go into a whole nother spiral. So we got to be careful with that. What would you say to people who have survived abuse and aren't sure about how to go about healing or what they need?
I think, okay, obviously, the obvious answer is go to therapy. Make sure you're in therapy. Okay, just want to put that in there. I don't know. I think it could be different for everybody. I think you said that a few minutes, like a little while ago, right? Like for me, I want to talk more about it. Because I didn't feel like I could before. So now I'm like, I'm gonna talk and I'm gonna share a story and I'm gonna help you walk you through it. For somebody else, it may just be, however they choose for it. It may be confronting quietly. It may be protecting their children like they weren't protected.
Yeah.
It may be protecting adults in spaces they didn't feel like it. It may just be the healing and the acknowledgement of knowing that I don't ever want to hurt anybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wish everybody would open up and connect, but that's not everybody doesn't want to do that.
Right. That's true. So has doing this work of helping people, has it ever exposed parts of you that you still need to work on or heal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mean just with abuse or across the board?
Across the board. Because I know even therapy-wise, which is another reason I advocate for people to go you don't know who's coming to be in your seat. And you don't know what story they have that might resemble something you've been through.
Absolutely.
So if you hadn't worked on it, it could be a spiraling experience for you too. Yeah. Or, you might think like, I'm good there. And then you encounter somebody and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's real. And that's life. I wish people did understand that about therapy. Like, we are human beings and we go through stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes, the last month, it makes me feel like, hey, we're sitting here and we're talking.
Yeah.
There's a mic in front of us, right? There's obviously a camera. Or the show The Office. Remember how they used to pan to the other camera and look at it? Sometimes I feel like that in therapy. Like, if I can pan and look like, this is me. Right. And then look back at the... Right. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Or to be real with you, like, okay, sometimes disclosure is healthy in therapy. Yeah. And I'm an advocate for it. And I remember sitting with somebody this week who, this is still a young, I'm not going to tell, but this is still somebody who's going through what I've been through, but being able to say, I
understand.
And in a way that there's a connection. Not to the point where like, my turn, and I'm the client.
No.
Right?
Don't
but enough to be like, I see you. Right? Because I got
feel you.
Right? I think that's important. But you're talking about being in that seat in the hit, like, okay, now I'm in this too. I'm with you. Like, it's funny. But then being yourself in the therapy room, like the older adults, you can laugh and you can be like, girl, like, or you can say something. But again, that builds rapport too and connection to know, like, you're not the only one with this. And that's the hindrance in therapy, thinking that the spotlight is just on you.
Right.
You're the only one in the world dealing with this. Shame on you. We're all looking at you, as opposed to being like, again, not minimizing what they're going through, but I know exactly how you feel.
Right.
I think what's hindered too, and I want to make sure I say this because this is something that I believe that I'm better at.
Yeah.
Like when you go through hard times too, what has hindered my healing was thinking that nobody was for me. Even when people were around me, nobody could see me was for me.
Yeah.
To the point where you would say, I don't need anybody and I don't need any friends. And I had to ask God for forgiveness with that because I pushed back from a lot of healthy relationships. You know, relationships with men. I pushed back from a lot of healthy friendships.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking I didn't need anybody. I'm going to do this on my own. And I had to repent. No, you need people. Right? Your pain will have you thinking that you don't need anybody or you don't trust anybody. But now having safe and healthy relationship, friendship, now I'm like, I can trust. This feels so good and so warm as opposed to being like, I don't need, and now I'm in isolation.
Yeah.
And that's a cold, dark, unhealthy place to be in.
It is. It's getting stuck in survival mode. If you feel like I don't need anybody, I'm good. It's a survival mode and a defense. But the truth is, we heal in community.
Absolutely.
You do your best healing and growth in community with the right people, of course.
That's it.
That's the key. It can't just be anybody.
Right.
And I think I have this thing that I call like a picker, right? When we're deciding the relationships to be in. And if you're choosing your relationships through a trauma filter, you're going to keep picking the wrong people to be in your circle and support you. So you kind of got to clean that up first.
Yeah.
And then decide like, okay, this is a good person. Because a lot of people will trauma bond and be like, well, they messed me over, or they weren't equipped. It wasn't the right space.
Yeah.
You know? So, okay. What kind of woman are you becoming now at this stage in your journey?
Yeah. And I think, I know it's said a lot, but like that softer era, I'm feeling that literally and figuratively. Like I'm vibing with it and then I'm feeling it and allowing myself to be what that is. Even if it's like, I don't have all the answers, I'm uncomfortable with it. Like I'm not a person that, your makeup looks beautiful. I'm not a person that wears makeup, but even my homegirl that was saying, I'm gonna start wearing makeup again. Okay, when you wear it, like, teach me some things. I'm not afraid to say that at this age. Whereas younger, it'd been like, I gotta act like I know. Like, I don't know the answer.
We don't.
But because I'm okay with it, but it's like, no, that's beautiful. And I would like, or I'm not okay, or saying you're not okay, or softness of hugs. Like I'm not, some people may describe me as a hugger, but now I come to love hugs because I just want to let somebody else know how much I appreciate them. Yeah. And I miss you, or I'm thinking about you, or I'm sending this, like, so I think that softer space of feeling good about it and not awkward or insecure about it.
Yeah.
I'm loving that now. I'm loving friendships now. I'm loving the fact to know that everybody not going to be my friend.
Yeah.
But like you said, with my picker, I got some dope friends. I got some dope connections, and it doesn't have to be the crowd. They could be these ones that God blessed me with.
Yeah.
I'm learning the softer part of me to know that there's things I desire that I don't have yet. I may never get, but God, make my heart okay either way. Like a Mother's Day and not being a mom.
Yeah.
That's a hard place to be in if you want it, right? Okay, but so I can wake up and be like, and be mad.
Right.
Or this is what I do every year intentionally. I text everybody who's in my phone. At least I've texted, not every single woman or mother, but those, and just say Happy Mother's Day and let them know how much I appreciate them, because I don't want anything hard to hinder, but then being okay with that. And then knowing I was just doing this work spiritually. I may not have I do not have a physical, biological child, but we birth spiritual seeds, and what that means, and being, not having the resistance or the anger to not, but then being comfortable in what I'm blessed with.
Yeah.
That, I want that. You know what I mean? I want that of knowing that
contentment.
Right. I could wear my hair straight one week, the next week it'll be curly, and people be like, I like your hair straight. Well, I like it curly today.
I don't,
and then be okay
you.
with and then being okay with that. Whereas before I would have been like, well, how do I get it back straight now? Like, nah, okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it like this. Like, you know what I mean? And then being okay with, I like jeans and sneakers all day long. And you know what I mean? I could put on a skirt. I'll rock a skirt too, but I want to go buy sneakers today.
Right.
And being okay with it, I like that. And I, without having to meet everybody else's needs and expectations.
Yeah. That's a freedom and a peace.
Yeah. I'm trying to stay there.
Yeah.
So I'm not acting like I've arrived.
Right. No.
But,
I don't think. And here's the thing about healing, personal growth, all that. You will never arrive because we will not see perfection on this side of eternity, right? So it's an ongoing thing. It's a thing that sometimes it's intense. Sometimes it's just, you're pacing yourself through your growth. But it's still a beautiful place with each level and each tier that you
Absolutely.
climb to get to, right? So as we wrap up, I want to ask, like, what advice do you give for people who are avoiding healing?
Yeah. Sometimes I think that, and I've been stuck in this too, I think that people don't know they're avoiding it. They think that they're okay.
Yeah.
Because like you said, we normalize pain and we've stuck in survival mode where survival mode becomes our norm. So I again, I think there's people that are absolute on that route. Then there's people who are afraid of touching things that are so heavy. And I would just say, again, if we're showing ourselves grace, what does that look like?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it could just be the onus of I'm not okay. It could just be like that does hurt. But to lean into it, whatever that means, whether it means you find your trusted person that you picked, like you said, or God picked for you, or it could just be of asking the questions. But lean into it, because I think it seems so that's too hard to do. But once you begin to lean, you're gonna realize, man, I should have did this a while ago, or it feels easier here. It's so heavy, and it's such a fight with your jaws always tight, your shoulders are clenched, your fists are tight. Like that's such a fight. Like, don't you want that soft? Like, what does that feel like? You know, and then allow yourself to be in whatever. And like you said, some things may take time, so it doesn't have to be rushed. Some people should be quicker, right? Don't stay there and be complacent, but just allow yourself to lean into whatever that gentleness you truly desire. And it's going to be, let's be honest, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy.
I don't even say a little bit uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable because you're digging up things that were painful, they're ugly.
Yeah.
They're scarring. And in some instances, it takes you right back there if you buried it for so long, right? But there's so much beauty on the other side if you sit and you're brave enough to face that.
Absolutely.
Right? So thank you, LaToya.
Yeah, thank you.
This was a beautiful
I enjoy our conversation. I feel like we can keep going. I know we got to stop, but I feel like we can keep going.
You can come back, girl.
As I was saying. Yeah.
Because I feel like there are other parts of your story that we didn't necessarily get to dive into, but I would like to. Just in terms of like the ministry side, because there's a balance there too.
Right.
And just having to deal with all that. But thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be a guest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that wraps up this episode of the Cozy Place podcast. As always, control the controllables and be the best version of you that you can be every day. Until next time. Bye.